Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
And that's that. We can stand up and fight and ride all day through the night. We can make this change right and see our hopes and our dreams come to fruition. It's time to unite as one, calling out to our founding fathers. This is our mission to make you
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Humanity Awaken Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Brian Bolin, and with me is my co-host, Phil McNamara.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you.
And today we just wanted to lay down what we're all about on our very first episode and kind of get into who we are and how we want to help guide you guys in a post-disclosure world. I'm a music producer, and I play in a band called Enter the Paradox. And I've been playing music for the past about 17 years, and I've been a music producer for the past almost 7, 8, 9, 10 years, somewhere around there. And, one thing that really got me to wake up to what's really going on in the world, and that there's this... the music industry is very controlled, and something that I really saw off the bat was a lot of my favorite artists, once they would get signed to these major label deals, something would change when they went from independent to major. Not with all of them, but a lot of them. And I saw this, they went down this dark path, and it really started to open my eyes, and I looked into it more. I saw that they're the same people that are controlling the UFO secrets, the UFO cover-ups, the secrets in medical and health and in politics and rigging the elections. Like, all these people come back to the same kind of power elite, and I see these people have their hands in the music industry, and this is a big reason for me coming forward and talking about these things. I've seen injustice in the world being done, and it needs to be made right, and people need to be made aware of it, especially my fellow musician friends and music producers, anyone trying to get into this business. You start to see that there's some really evil things going on, and they need to be talked about so that they don't have my consent, basically. And, I'm making a stand for that. And, with that, I wanted to turn it over to Phil and let you guys hear what he has to say about, his passions and why he wants to be doing the show.
Hi, everybody. So, thank you, Brian. So I became aware that there was something wrong in the world when I was a little kid. I was probably around the age of 11 when I saw Star Wars the first time, and it actually changed the entire trajectory of my life. I work in recovery, addiction and recovery, and I've had a very, very colorful life. I've done a lot of things in my life, and all throughout the whole time, I've been watching our government, watching the UFO conspiracy, if you want to call it that. I really hate the term conspiracy, but that's the term that everybody seems to use. But for me, my real passion at this point is that we are at a precipice. We are at the very edge of disclosure. It's happening around us all the time. We are being told on a daily basis, very slowly, dribs and drabs, that this is happening, that there is a huge galaxy of beings and opportunities out there that are just being made aware to us. And honestly, the thing that's the most amazing to me is all of the leaps in technology that we have made that have been kept secret from us, and all the leaps in medical things that we have been kept secret, anti-aging, and cures for diseases that have been kept secret, so that the powers that be, or the cabal, or the Illuminati, or whatever you want to call them, are profiting off of this. The energy, the free energy in the world that could be very easily given to us so that we don't have to rely on fossil fuels anymore. This is available, and we need to make a stand, and we need to start talking about this openly, and start getting the powers that be to start to invest in this, or we're going to continue down this dark path that we've been on. So that's sort of where I'm at with it at this point. I'll expand more on that later, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
Great, thanks, Phil. You touched on something that I think is going to constantly come back up in this subject, and you can't really get into modern current day conspiracy unless the Nazis get brought up.
Absolutely.
And when I first started hearing more about this Nazi thing, I'm like, why am I hearing about this post World War II? Like, why does this keep coming up when you dig deeper into these secrets? And something that really fascinates me is this thing that you were talking about, anti-aging. Right. And where I really started to see that pop up a lot is where you see, these people who have, Nazi sympathizers, Nazi supporters with these backgrounds that, Joseph Mengele, Dr. Death, like the guy working at the concentration camps, like doing these crazy experiments on a lot of the prisoners. He was experimenting into some really intense things like that. And you see some of these people in the current day that just don't age.
Correct.
You want to name a few of them, Phil?
Well, I just found out recently through one of my sources that he was at a party, and he saw a woman at the party, and he recognized her as Lady Bird Johnson, who was the president Johnson's wife, who apparently died in 2009. But because these people have got this anti-aging technology, and we're not even sure whether it's nanotechnology or whatever it is that's keeping them alive. If you think about that, if this person had died in 2009 and they're being seen in 2015, and he recognized her directly, and she hasn't aged from that point. Now, she was an old lady even then, but still, if somebody's being kept alive for a couple hundred years or however long they're maintaining their life, they have to sometime die. They have to have a public death so that people can see, oh, this person has passed on. But then what happens to them after that? That's what I'm curious about. Where do they go? What do they change their identity? What happens?
Yeah, and that's one of the curious things. I mean, then we have David Rockefeller,
who's 100.
That dude is still involved very heavily in a lot of things that I think we all wish he wasn't. I don't understand why he is, but he is, because there's some kind of power hold that these people have. These people that view themselves as the power elite, and they definitely hold a tipping point in money and wealth, not just in one nation but the world. And they're very influential, and they remain in power. They don't have to let it go because they have some kind of barrier that's stopping them from fully aging. And I know now we know from Corey Good's disclosures. For those of you who don't know, Corey Good is a whistleblower that David Wilcock is interviewing right now on Gaia TV in a show called Cosmic Disclosure. And he has been talking about these nanites, this AI technology that I know we're getting really fringe really quick here, but this is pretty much how it's going to go on the show. So if you're intrigued, keep listening.
Yeah, keep going.
But there's this nanite technology that these power elite have, and I'm pretty sure that's, we're getting warned to how something like anti-aging is even possible. And it's clear that from Corey Good's disclosures that, a lot of these power elite have been promised some type of immortality. They're obsessed with becoming gods. And, now I'm getting more into the Illuminati and their whole religion of, they believe that they were born of an extraterrestrial nature, and that's what makes them special and makes us inferior. Where the truth is, we're probably all seeded by many different ET races. Like, there's a lot of whistleblowers that say we're, have 12 to 13 different ET races in us, and that would make sense with the 12, strand DNA.
There's that, and there's also the fact that Corey has also specified that there are 22 different genetic programs running on human beings at this time from different extraterrestrial races, and the thing for that is that some of them are doing it for our benefit, and some are doing it for their benefit. And as we go along in this show, you're going to learn about the religion that the elites believe that they are part of, and where it came from, and how it how it's applied today. And you don't have to believe that any of this is true. You have to understand that they believe it wholeheartedly, without question.
That's the key. Believe, we have to. We're part of the reason we're doing this show is to let people know what the Illuminati is and what they're not.
Exactly, and it's really important to sort of get some of these terms correct, and some of this stuff as we're going along with this. A lot of people are coming to this, and they've just recently awakened, and they've recently come to terms with the fact that the world is not what we thought it was. I realized that as a very young kid, and it completely changed the way my entire life was and is, and the way I've grown up very differently, and I've looked through different lenses. I've gone down all the quote-unquote rabbit holes, and at the bottom of a rabbit hole, there's a rabbit, and there's never not been a rabbit so far. So I'm really excited about the idea that we can share this with you and get your feedback and get your response, and we're really looking forward to bringing you this information. It's very, very vital at this point in time, because we're really, like I said, on the cutting edge of an entirely new society on this planet, and we've got to do it.
On what you're saying, Phil, I want to lay down the groundwork with what gives us the authority, or why should you listen to us, like two guys talking about crazy things about AI and nanites and ETs. And, the reality is that, I don't just like play music, I don't just, we're not just normal Joes. Like we have a deep background in, I guess you would call it supernatural paranormal phenomenon, in the sense mainly with ETs. I mean, we both had our own ET experiences.
Yes.
It's not like we just listen to a couple talk shows or, and get this information, just talk about it. Like, we've had experiences that have changed us forever. And we can totally get into that, in full detail in later shows. But, ever since 2009, I had a series of UFO experiences. And ever since then, when they happened to me, I thought I was the first person to see a UFO really who wasn't crazy. And it totally changed my life. And then I kept researching and realizing, why can't I go to the cops? Why can't I call the Navy? Why can't I do this?
Right.
Like, why is nobody doing anything? And why does everyone think you're crazy when you do that? And you eventually get to the top and see that there's people who don't want the world to know this for a certain reason. And it is not a good reason, in the sense that, I mean, there's so many different reasons that you're going to find why we're not told the truth. But at the end of the day, we're not told the truth, and there's people like us out there who is trying to get the truth out in the correct way. And there's a lot of people that are going to be giving out disinformation.
Absolutely.
And I want to make it clear right now that, I would never purposely give out misinformation or disinformation, because I believe in trusting my intuition and my heart. And that's the most important thing to me. And I've never told or tried to disseminate this type of information in a way that didn't align with me intuitionally.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because if you're new to this, or if you've been doing this for a while, and you go on YouTube or you go on the internet and you try to figure out what all this stuff is, and there's just so much information.
Consciousness.
And consciousness. That's one of the most important parts of this. Our species is going through a transformation, and we're going to talk a lot about that. This whole thing is based on consciousness. my personal belief, and this is just my personal belief, so don't quote me, or you can, I don't care. But the idea is that this universe that we currently live in is the expression of living consciousness. We are the expression of living consciousness. Everything around us is as an expression of that, is a manifestation of that, which makes it really personal. So everything that we do, everything that we say, everywhere that we go is all connected. We are all connected. Everybody that's listening to this show right now, you are connected to us. We are connected to you. You are connected to the people in your life. And if we start to really, really embrace that and start to really make that part of who we are, then we're going to have an absolute change on this planet. It's going to be phenomenal. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's all going to be easy. Some of it's going to be extraordinarily difficult and hard to watch. We're going to watch some very dark stuff happen. But if we, as a collective group of human beings and whatever else is here on this planet, band together, work together to really make this planet the very best we can, we're going to have a really successful journey, all of us together. And we're going to see that all of this new technology and all of this new post-disclosure information, as scary as some of it's going to be, is also going to be really enlightening, and we're all going to benefit from it if we use it properly.
That was beautiful, Phil. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, I think, a lot of people coming to listen to this podcast, our aim is to really get this out to people, definitely in my generation. I'm about to be 27 next month.
Puppy.
And this is something that I've researched and been in it every single day for the past, I think, 7 years. But while Phil has, decades of experience talking about this stuff.
I'm really old.
we as a collective, have years of experience behind us and different viewpoints and perspectives that align to something that I think we're on to something special here, and it's a privilege and an honor to share this with you guys. And one thing that I am very passionate about clearing up is what the Illuminati is and what they're not.
Absolutely.
Everyone in my generation has heard that term. It's not some random term nobody knows, hasn't heard before now. It's very much in the public mindset and public consciousness, and it's being used misinterpretively. Right now, the power elite are trying to make it look cool and trendy in the hip-hop and rap world. And it's definitely not something that's cool to be a part of. I mean, Kanye, Jay-Z, all these guys, that might talk about it, or they're not actually in the Illuminati. They're mainly puppets for the Illuminati agenda. And in later podcasts, I want to get more into what that agenda is, but let's just say it right now, it's not of love and light. And
it's very important to understand that these are people that for generations have been either influenced directly or indirectly by a possible ET presence.
That is negative.
That is a negative presence. They are, I have never met one of them, so I can't speak to what the ET presence looks like, but from what my understanding is that we're looking at something extra dimensional possibly, and possibly of the draconian influence, which means, for those of you that don't know, I'll just use the vernacular, lizard people. Okay, let's just go with that. I know that sounds woo woo and whatever, but the reality of it is that this is actually becoming more and more mainstream, and the power elite, the Illuminati, the cabal, whatever the word is that you choose to use. I choose to use cabal because it sounds much more sinister, which is what it really is. Really wants to control our planet through our food, through our music, through our banking, through our consumerism, through our greed, through our fear.
So, something on that level too, what you touched on, Phil, I think is really important. everyone who does know about the Illuminati thinks about them in the sense of how they're controlling um, fear as a weapon through, politics and just control the world.
Right.
But I think so much of us don't look at, and a lot of people don't talk about as much, how it's being controlled through music.
Absolutely.
And
Very
in a way,
powerful.
like, because
And
think,
music,
like,
and
when
movies.
we're in a recession right now, people don't think the country's going to a good place. They don't want to tune into politics or whatever. What do? They tune out with music,
Right.
or films, and the Illuminati is heavily controlling the entertainment business and promoting their agenda into our public consciousness to promote more of the view of the world they want. And that can be controlled through conscious creation. We might not realize it when we're listening to it and getting involved in it. When we say we like it, we're co-creating that reality of whatever they're portraying is as cool. And there's some really dark agendas and things like, Rihanna videos and like,
oh my God.
Lady Gaga, it just, I'll say it right now, like I'm a music fan of Lady Gaga and Katy Perry. Like I love their music, but there's just some things that I think that they're being involved in that they might not even know that they're involved in. And to set the record straight, these artists are not in the Illuminati music industry complex.
Right.
It's the people controlling them that would have these occult backgrounds. The possibly the record label owners, the dance choreographers. These are the people that I'm trying to get into people's heads about this issue. And something on the level too of regardless of lizard people or not, I mean whether they're in league with them or not, the Illuminati are generationally inbred with each other.
Yes.
And I mean it's not they look at the rest of the population so subservient that they won't even breed into the normal population. I mean, we know how much of a detrimental effect that can have over a lineage, and like it's not hard to link back all the major people in politics and presidents and even a lot of celebrities too.
A lot of people
which
are
is
very
crazy.
much
Like
related.
I saw a YouTube video a couple years ago of this 14-year-old girl for a science project.
Yeah.
Linked all these U.S. presidents back to these really prominent kings and queens and everything in the past, and like how all the people in politics and presidents are all interrelated. And I would go as far to assume a lot of celebrities are interrelated too. This whole world of the false idol worship, which is a Luciferian, practice, and we're obsessed with the celebrity culture.
Right.
It's part of this giant, literally like Luciferian ritual, and to establish Satanism as a do as thou wilt society. And we see celebrities portraying that in our everyday life, especially with rap and hip hop. That's the entire culture. The shallow culture of money, buy things you don't want so you can impress people you don't like type of mentality. And it's even worse because we're in a recession and they still try to make that cool.
Yeah, they do. And I'm a little bit older. I'm nearly 50, so I go back to the rock and roll era, and I'm telling you, some of the stuff that we heard when we were growing up, while it wasn't as overt as what they're doing, now, ever since around 1980, everything sort of shifted over. But during the early 70s and 70s, when I was a kid, we had, these grand music operas with all of these amazing bands, and I'm not saying that the music today is any worse or better, but I'm saying that the message was still there. It just was a little bit more masked, and it was a little bit more underplayed as it is now. You see things like the Rolling Stones song "Sympathy for the Devil" as a direct reference to Satan, to Satanism, to Luciferianism. Please allow me to introduce myself. That they wrote that, and so this has been going on for a really long time. This has been going on since the Beatles, and I know that that's a sacred cow with most people, but honestly, that's where it kind of started. Ever since that whole genre of music began, there has been a power elite within the music industry that has guided and made it mainstream to start to think this way, and our whole generation grew up believing this.
We could do an entire episode on black magic and the people who believe this and who incorporate this in the music industry.
I think we should.
I think we should too. And you can't talk about, the music industry, especially talking about bands like, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, all the music in the 60s and 70s without talking about Aleister Crowley.
Of course.
And his influence on black magic, the Church of Satan. He would literally, like in the Beatles and Led Zeppelin, I mean, Jimmy Page bought one of his houses. They were obsessed with Aleister Crowley, who didn't actually live in, those times. He lived about, I think it was maybe 100 years before that.
I think he lived in the 20s, somewhere in there.
Oh, yeah, it was, yeah. He was, he was obsessed with doing these rituals that could invoke black magic and give people power. For instance, he was the kind of guy who would eat his own feces because he believed it would invoke some kind of black magic and give him some sort of power. And he had all these followers that would follow him doing this. He even had, practicing Knight Templar rituals, kissing the butt of a goat. And then we see Miley Cyrus doing this on stage at, I think it was the VMAs.
Yeah.
Doing this in rituals.
Yeah.
And when I say the the industry is infiltrated with this Illuminati rituals and this black magic practicing, it is.
Yes, it is.
It's not woo. It's not. It is, but it's not. Because, I mean, all you have to do is turn on any freaking award show, and it's just this giant ritual.
It really
and if your cognitive dissonance is going off in your head, does everybody remember the 2012 Olympics? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It was just blatant. I mean, everyone watching that knew something was off. I mean, I remember watching something with my parents where Madonna's on stage and all her dancers have devil horns on.
Yeah.
And they're doing these provocative, Luciferian sex rituals on stage.
Right. And it's not necessarily Madonna herself doing it. She may be influenced by a power beyond herself right now. We don't know how involved any of these artists are in the actual creation of these things. They may be just doing what they're told, and they may be doing it under threat. So...
Also, too, you guys have to understand, now pretty much every major artist, U2, Madonna, you name it, they're all under... The music industry is constantly changing, and major labels cannot support the weight of the what's going on in the music industry right now. And it's kind of like they have all this power on top of this pyramid, but there's no base anymore. Those days have come and gone. So music industries, record labels have the power to create something what's called 360 deal. And that basically means they own half of everything you make, create, or have intellectual property on, including merchandise, album sales, digital downloads, pretty much anything and everything. And
I just learned that. I did not know that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, with that, they basically own half of you, and they're putting all these thousands, maybe millions of dollars into, marketing, promotion, creating all this stuff. They basically own you.
Yeah, and that's the crux of it. I remember when I was in audio engineering school when I was younger, I got to read a music contract, and this we're talking back in the early 90s, and it was this big, thick pad of paper, and we read it from cover to cover over the course of the classes. And at the end of it, what my takeaway was we as a record company screw you as the artist as many different ways as we can without telling you. We're going to give you all this money up front, and then you get to spend the next 4 years or 4 albums trying to recoup back to us the money we lent you. And if you don't do it, we're going to sue you.
And that's the big thing. It's like in the state of the music industry right now, there's just not a way to recoup the amount of money that they give up front. And that's why they suck you in with the 360 deal to a point where you're stuck.
Right.
You can't move forward. You can't move back. You really have no choice.
Exactly.
And I was going to say something else about the... oh, yeah. So, I mean, this literally is, sign your soul to the devil.
Exactly.
That whole thing, like that whole metaphor, I'm really starting to think that there's something to that. Yeah. I really, really am. I'm not saying if you sign with an independent label or, like I have my own record label, it just signing a record label contract doesn't mean that. It's who are you signing with?
Right.
Who are you signing? My whole goal of having, being in the music industry now is, having a safe place. Like any of the bands that come to produce with me is non-produced Illuminati music. Any of the bands who, will sign with my record label is non-produced Illuminati music. I don't want to have any involvement with that part of the music industry, and that's me taking a stand to it. And I'm completely okay with that. My integrity's in check. My heart's in check with that. And I encourage anyone who's in the music industry and dealing with this to come forward. Come reach out to us. Please. Come on the show. We need music whistleblowers. We need music artist whistleblowers. And the eyes of our entire human race is on musicians and artists. And this is it, people. If you want the world to wake up in an instant, all we need is a couple people in the music industry to come forward, and I think we're just going to have a landslide of, disclosure in this new way where music celebrities their lives are portrayed on TV every single day. It's not, people trust music celebrities. People trust celebrities in general.
Yeah, they trust celebrities more than they trust their own family members, really, honestly.
They trust way more than politicians, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I really see this being another crux of living in a post-disclosure world is, a lot of people that we idolized and see, they may come forward and say, hey, I've been a victim. This isn't all pretty lights and rainbows and unicorns. Like, I've been a victim, and a lot of these people are actually under a form of mind control. And while that might have just lost people right there, we really have to look back, and we'll get into this in future episodes with MK Ultra, which is, there's congressional hearings on MK Ultra.
This was declassified.
Declassified went on the 50s, and we're sure it went on under names after it was told to stop. And it's really apparent that there's this monarch symbolism. All these major A-list celebrities have these monarch butterfly tattoos. It's a call sign of the monarch programming. There's a sex kitten programming, and a lot of it stems back from Marilyn Monroe. I'm kind of getting on a big tangent here because this is so important. And if you guys like this episode, be sure to tune back in. We're gonna have many more episodes. We plan on having focused subject episodes. We plan on having guests. We're really excited about.
We really are. This is a huge outlet for me and for Brian as well. This is something we both really kind of dreamed about for a while. And so we're really looking forward to bringing all of this information to you. We will, like he said, we're going to bring, each show will have a focus. We're going to have guests. We're going to have some guests that you really know, people that you're familiar with. And we're looking forward to really taking this to the next level now.
Yeah, and with that, thanks for joining us, guys. And
thank you.
Be sure to tune into the next episode, and we'll see you guys then.
Absolutely. Goodbye, everybody.